Well, dear listeners, this morning I have with us Topouzian, who is associated with the big event that's happening here in our city. And I'm talking about the Armenian National Committee's big conference coming here in November. And it's going to be taking place at the Westbrook Cadillac in beautiful downtown Detroit. And just give us a little bit of an insight as to what the ANC is up to and what this Eastern Region Banquet means to our community and some of the awards and recipients of these awards that will be taking place, because some of them are in our local community that will be honored. But I'm going to let Ada talk about that. So good morning, Ada. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Ron. How are you?
Not too bad. Thank you for being with us via telephone, and that's between our schedules. That's about the only way we can do things sometimes nowadays. But it's all going to work. Anyway, big event coming up November the 14th here in our community.
Yeah, this is the 9th annual Armenian National Committee of America, the Eastern Region Banquet. First time it's been here in Detroit, taking place on Saturday, November 14th, in the heart of Detroit at the prestigious Westbrook Cadillac Hotel. This is obviously an annual event. It's a very important event for the ANCA. It is their major fundraiser, but also it gives them the opportunity to really talk about high tide issues that they're doing throughout the country. And it's also a way to, this banquet is personalized in a manner of speaking, where we'll be honoring some different awardees. Our master of ceremonies is filmmaker Eric Nazarian. We're presenting 2 Freedom Award winners, Fetia Chechen, who is Hanat Dink's attorney. She will be coming here from overseas. And then, if you recall, David Bonnier, who was very politically active in the Armenian community. And so those 2 will be receiving Freedom Awards. And then we've got 3 other awards, one that's fairly close to me, which is the Kardashian Award, which is going to my father, Armin Topouzian, for the work that he's done in Armenia and Karabakh over the many years. The Activism Award is going to Nor Zartunk, and representing them is Sayat Tekir, and he will be coming here. And you've read much about the Camp Armin, that they were able to get that back. So it's very timely, very exciting. And then the Legacy Award is a posthumous award that will be going to the late John Kachikian, who has been a community activist was for many decades. So it's obviously a very personal banquet for all of us here in Michigan. It's important, especially in these times here. We're in the 100th anniversary of the genocide, and the ANC is really that organization that deals with the current events that take place in Armenia and Karabakh, and they are very active, and this is an important event and something that we should all really take note to.
Well, some of the listeners out there, Ada, are not familiar with the terminology high tide, okay?
Yeah.
And basically what it is, it's the Armenian case, and it's all the issues that surround us, within our country, and the political activism and the things that we have to do here in especially the United States, because as we've learned through years and years of, you remember back in the AYF days and everything else like that, we were even making sure we were involved with some type of awareness or protests if there were certain delegations that came into town. And, it's sort of like a watch committee for those people that are trying to take the Armenian case or the history and especially the genocide issue into a place of, well, it was a war. It was no big deal. So the ANC plays a imperative role in keeping the people in Washington especially in tune, and it has been great that this national committee has come together and has sort of pierced the armor of the White House.
Yes, I mean, their directive in the last number of years, the 3 words, I think that really captivate what the ANC has done is educate, motivate, and activate. Mm-hmm. They certainly have priority issues. One that you just mentioned, the genocide, the return of our churches, Armenia, Nagorno-Karabakh itself, and the Middle East and so forth. These are certainly top-of-mind issues. These are things that if you're staying in tune with current events, with what's going on in Armenia, the ANC has had and continues to have an active involvement in that. I mean, they are our voice in talking to Washington. They are our voice in talking to politicians around the country, certainly in different communities such as Detroit, our own. We've got our own ANC of Michigan, but these, chapters, for lack of a better term, exist around the country. And they're very important because they're doing a lot of grassroots organizations. I mean, in Michigan, it's reaching out and doing the outreach to local politicians. Let them know who the Armenians are, first and foremost. So it's certainly not an organization that any of us should take lightly. It's certainly not an organization that's run by a couple of people. I mean, the amount of individuals that are active in the Armenian National Committee around the entire country, it's huge. And it's important for this kind of a banquet to help. Again, it's fundraising efforts.
And what's key is you use 2 words, our and us. And yep. It should be made very, very clear that this is not a particular faction, side, this, that, or whatever, as, we've at least it took us 100 years maybe, but we've come a lot closer within our communities in understanding that the civic activism is a part of all of our communities, not just a diasporan one or from the prelacy or from the diocese or from, all corners. This encompasses all of us as Armenian Christians and right. in our national heritage in keeping this preserved. So a lot of people think that sometimes, because it maybe deals with political issues, it, seems to be serving that faction more than the others. But that has to be something that has to be taken out of the equation when we start thinking about moving forward as a nation and supporting organizations such as the ANCA.
I would agree. I think that we act as a unified voice. It's probably more important now than it ever has been to have that voice, to be able to make that difference. I mean, we've gotten so much publicity, if you will, from the 100th anniversary. And part of what we want to be able to show is that after, 2015 is up, it doesn't mean we stop efforts. Mm-hmm. I mean, we need to keep going. I think we've all sort of said that at one time or another that, we hope that this energy, this activism, these efforts don't just die on December 31st, 2015. They have to keep going. They have to keep continuing. So it's been great, the recognition that we've received this year so far. But the banquet's going to really touch on some of that when we listen to people and have that sort of discussion, if you will, of where is the ANC going from there. And it's not just going to stop here, and that it's, again, more important now than ever. So,
especially coming up into an election year next year, it's really important for us to get the ear of a lot of those who are going to be filling those seats in the Congress and in the Senate, and even here locally. And, of course, David Bonnier has always been a friend of the Armenians, along with other politicians. But I think we finally have understood that sometimes you can get more with a pen than a sword.
Yeah.
And we're in that day and age now where, with the likes of ISIS and the way that they try to control their movement, we know that that's not something that's acceptable, and it's not the way to do things in this day and age. And in this world, we need to work closely with Washington and a lot of these organizations. And congratulations to you with Dad being honored with the Kardashian Award. And, of course, dear listeners, this is not the Kim Kardashian Award.
No.
Tell us a little bit about this award that's named after this young Kardashian.
Yeah. Well, it was Vahan Kardashian, and he was an Armenian-American activist. He was an attorney. He founded the American Committee for the Independence of Armenia, which was really the predecessor of the Armenian National Committee of America. So he did that back in 1919. So he was an activist. He was active with the New York State Bar Association. He was a fiscal agent of the Ottoman Empire in the U.S. Prior to the genocide, he served as a counselor, statistician to the Ottoman Chamber of Commerce in America. Very, very active. He authored several different books. So it really, truly is, an honorable award. And we're very proud of our father. Certainly, my dad's done quite a bit, and he doesn't talk about it like most of his generation. They do it. They see the need and they do it. And John Kachikian was the same way. These were, it's a generation, Vaughn, that I don't know that we'll always see, we would ever see again. That saw their duty, if you will, that they needed to do more and help and do more. And it's an honor for both of them to be recognized in this way.
And when I did see, Varujan, or John's name as an honoree, I had the pleasure of working at John's company for a while in my early years when I was pursuing industrial sales and what have you, and I was working along with this company. And you're right about, he's the quiet lion, okay? He never really said no to anything that made sense, and if you needed financial support or you needed whatever, Varujan was the go-to guy that really held up a lot of what we went through in the early years when it wasn't so popular, maybe. I shouldn't say popular, it was just more accepted, yeah. And this award is very, very deserving of his. I remember some days he would spend more time in the office on Armenian issues than whether or not we were going to build a tank park for a GMC tank or something like that. But
well, that was that generation. I mean, they were able to they prioritized in the way that they saw fit.
Right. Well, it should be a grand event, and it's the 9th annual banquet, and that'll be taking place on November the 14th at the prestigious Westin Book Cadillac Hotel in downtown Detroit. And I'll give you ticket information right after we conclude this interview, and you'll have the people to contact. And I believe there was a special offer prior to October 31st. There was a little bit of a savings if you got your reservations in. Maybe they might give you special dispensation if you tell them that you heard this on the Armenian radio program on first day of November, and they still might get by with the discounted pre.
That's true. Today is actually the last day for it, so we encourage folks to get their tickets today at a discount.
Sure.
That ends today.
And if you would like to find out a little bit more about ANC, you can always visit www.anca.org, and you can find out a little bit more about all the things that they're involved with. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing, Ada?
Just thank you for the opportunity, Vaughn. We hope to see everyone on November 14th in the evening.
Great. Thank you for being with us, Ada, and
thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks.